Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Drayhon, back once again with another Dungeons & Dragons character conversion, where we take a look at characters from all over fiction, and sometimes even the real world, and convert them into a playable character for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Today, I wanted to take a look at Cloudians. They are one of my favorite archetypes to play as in the trading card game Yugioh. One of my favorites, and one that should be in every Cloudian deck, is Cloudian Nimbusman. And I'm sure you're probably thinking, and probably thought this already before clicking on this video, Drayhon, how in the world can you create a character who is a sentient cloud? And we actually have that covered thanks to some new material released from Cobalt Press. The Reach for the Stars material. There have been a couple of releases from Cobalt Press in the Reach for the Stars expansion, which they have on their site. I have a link to the material in the description below for everything Reach for the Stars. This material was released after the Spelljammer setting was released. It's Cobalt Press's way of supporting that setting. So yeah, check it out. It's really cool. I even saw in the bestiary section solar elementals. Now that's cool. And it's something that I thought of over on Twitter before I even checked out the material. I'm not sure when that material was released, if it was released before my thought or after my thought on solar elementals, but I still thought it was cool. So yeah, if you haven't already, if you haven't known already, I do have a Twitter page, Drayhon_YT, and there's also my Discord server, which if I remember to, I will also put a link to it in the description. And also there is a new community page that came out at some point, which I checked out the functions a few weeks ago. You've probably seen a couple of my posts on the community page. If not, go ahead and check those out. Anyway, I am rambling. Let's get on with today's build. Cloudian Nimbusman. Going to start off with the point buy system for our stats. I only use the point buy system as an example for our build because it's quicker, it's easier, and I don't have to do any more work. Strength is going to be a 12. Dexterity and Constitution are going to be 15. Intelligence and Charisma are going to be an 8. And Wisdom is going to be a 13. Now, it's a sentient cloud, so Intelligence and Charisma probably not going to be the best. The Cloudian's main mechanic are fog counters. They spread these fog counters out as like precipitation, and each Cloudian is based on a cloud. Nimbusman, of course, is based on the Nimbus cloud, the stereotypical cloud that you'll see when it starts to rain or snow. And this is reflected in Nimbusman's ability, which causes him to increase in power whenever there are more fog counters on the field. Now, as I said, it's a cloud, so we need a cloud race. And thanks to Cobalt Press's material on Reach for the Stars, we have the Nebulae. Literal sentient clouds. And oh boy, is this race a bit OP. Starting things off with the ability score improvements, we are able to put a boost in 3 different stats. I'm going to go ahead and put it in Dexterity, Constitution, and Wisdom. We don't have a walking speed, since we are a sentient cloud, but we do have a flying speed of 30 feet. We are considered an elemental as our creature type. We also have the ability Cloud Body. This is very similar to the Amorphous feature. We also have Dark Vision of 60 feet. We have Elemental Resilience. We have resistance to poison and radiant damage, as well as having advantage on saving throws for the poisoned condition. We have a limited telekinetic field, which is pretty cool. We also have Nebulae Psionics. We get to start off with the Mage Hand spell, and at 3rd level we get Unseen Servant. Pretty basic. We also have the ability Telepathy. Not bad. We also get one language of our choice. While I would recommend talking with your Dungeon Master, a good one for a sentient cloud, obviously, is the Auran language, since it is the language of air elementals. Now, what makes this race OP is the ability Psionic Barrier. Your armor class includes your Wisdom modifier. Includes the Wisdom modifier. So, say you have your plate armor. Add your Wisdom modifier to that. Plus your shield, plus whatever else. That's pretty nuts, in my opinion. Now, the thing is, it does have a little bit of a drawback, which I like. It balances things out with this final line. You lose this bonus while inside an anti-magic field. I think that's fair. You basically get a magical barrier. Your armor class increases, which makes you hard to hit, which makes sense because you are a literal cloud. It's kind of hard to actually land a hit when all your hits are getting swung through the cloud. Now, while in the anti-magic field, this bonus goes away, which, that's great. It makes it a little less overpowered, having this one drawback. Plus, of course, your walking speed is 0, so if you were to be affected by, like, say, Earthbind, you are stuck. If someone were to drop your flying speed to 0, you're stuck. So, yeah, that's pretty good. I like it. But that is still a very good bonus. As you can see, currently our Wisdom modifier is a +2, since we are at 14. Now, if I were to drop my Strength down to an 8... No, it was a 10. Yeah. No, it would be an 8. That would make my Wisdom modifier a +3, thanks to the ability score improvement from the Nebulae race. That means that if we use... we would get a +3 to our armor class. Now, I'll explain why this becomes overpowered here in a minute, because we do have our background to go over. I chose Wild Spacer. Just because, just to do it. There wasn't really any other backgrounds that would work for Cloudian Nimbusman, so I decided just to go with the Wild Spacer to give us the feature Wild Space Adaptation, which will give us the Tough feat, so we get a bonus to our hit points, which is nice. We also get skills in Athletics and Survival, as well as Navigator's Tools and Vehicle Space. So not bad. Let's go ahead and move on to Barbarian, and I just realized a small mistake. The skills, nature, and survival need to be swapped out with 2 other skills. Go ahead and go for, let's say, intimidation. And I don't know, animal handling sounds nice. We'll do that. We're going to go with 3 levels of Barbarian to start off this build, and I'll explain. Well, I'm doing this just to make things go by a little bit faster since I've been ranting a lot. But 3 levels of Barbarian is what we're starting off with. So our starting hit points are going to be 12 plus our Constitution modifier plus the Tough feat. So 12 plus 3 plus 2. A nice solid 17 hit points. Now for the overpowered nebulae part. Normally, our unarmored defense would give us 10 plus our dexterity modifier plus our constitution modifier. Thanks to the nebulae's ability, Psionic Barrier, we get an extra wisdom modifier addition. So starting things off with 1 level of Barbarian, we have a grand total of an armor class of 18. And if we were to drop down our strength from earlier, from a 12 to an 8, we could increase our wisdom from a starting point of 13 up to a 15. With the nebulae's ability modifier added onto it, that is a 16. So we could effectively have an armor class of 19 at level 1. An untouchable cloud. That can't really swing that much since it does have a -1 modifier on strength. But it's still a pretty good armor class. Anyway, moving on, we have Reckless Attack and Danger Sense from the 2nd level Barbarian. And as a 3rd level Barbarian, we get a Primal Path. We're going to go for the Primal Path of the Giant, which is an unearthed Arcana material, I will admit that. But I picked Power of the Giant because of Nimbusman's ability of being able to gain 500 attack points for each fog counter on the field, which is great because of the giant stature part of Giant's Havoc, which increases our size when we are raging. I would flavor this, if I were playing this character, I would flavor this to where I do not rage at all. I will only rage when a weather condition comes into effect. Like, say, it gets foggy, or it starts to rain, gets extremely windy, something like that. I would rage during those weather conditions, or at least conditions that replicate weather conditions, like, say, the spell Fog Cloud. Then I would rage, increase my size, and start walloping on my foes, which is cool. The ability Giant Power gives us the language of giants and the cantrip Druidcraft. Pretty cool. We also get Primal Knowledge, which once again I have failed to look over the things that I have already gotten, so instead of going for Intimidation, go with another Barbarian skill that is listed. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head. So anyway, let's go ahead and go to 4th level Barbarian. We're going to skip over the ability score improvement and go with the feat Elemental Touched. This is an unearthed Arcana feat as of this video. Elemental Touched gives us a choice of which ability score to be using for spells. We're going to go with Wisdom modifier, since our Wisdom is going to be pretty important. we get a cantrip of either Druidcraft or Thaumaturgy. Since we already got Druidcraft, we're going to go ahead and grab Thaumaturgy. And we get to choose an element. I'm going to choose water, since the Nimbus Cloud is a cloud for precipitation, water, and snow. So the elemental water. Now, because we chose the element of water, we have the ability to shoot out a geyser of water at a target within range. I think it was like 10 feet. Or was it 15? Anyway, not important. What this does, it doesn't deal any damage, but it does push the target back 10 feet if they failed their saving throw, which is pretty cool. Moving on to level 5 Barbarian, we get extra attack and fast movement. So now we have a 40-foot flying speed. We're a pretty fast cloud. Level 6 Barbarians of the Giant get Elemental Cleaver. Now we get to deal some elemental damage on top of our normal weapon damage. I would go with either Lightning, Thunder, or Cold, because Rain Cloud. Level 7 Barbarians get Feral Instinct. Level 8 Barbarians would get an ability score improvement, but I want to grab another Unearthed Arcana feat. Strike of the Giants, and we're going to pick Cloud Giant. When we make an attack against a creature, we get to deal some extra cold damage. Also, the creature must make a saving throw. If they fail that saving throw, then that creature thinks that we are invisible. That's right. We are treated as invisible for that creature. That's fun. Moving on to level 9 Barbarian, we have Brutal Critical. Get to deal some extra damage when making a critical hit. Pretty nice. Especially since we are in fact Nimbusman, we are going to be trying to deal as much damage as possible when the conditions for weather are met. So, increase in size, increase in power. Level 10 Barbarians of the Giants get Mighty Impale, which means that we get to grow even bigger when we rage. Become a bigger Nimbus Cloud. Level 11 Barbarians get the feature Relentless Rage, and level 12 Barbarians get another feat, Guile of the Cloud Giant. Unearthed Arcana. Since we picked the Cloud Giant for Strike of the Giants, we can now take this feat, which gives us a +1 to our Constitution, and gives us some neat abilities. One of the abilities is when we become hit by an opponent's attack, we get to reduce that damage, and then basically use Misty Step. We teleport away from the creature after getting hit and taking that damage. That's kind of cool. I like it. Now, I'm going to go a little bit off kilter here because I want to show you how powerful this build can be, as well as adding a little bit more flavor to make Nimbusman a little bit more usable, because if I'm not raging, I can't exactly use my abilities. So we need abilities that allow us to fit the flavor of our rage. So we're going to multi-class into Rogue. 3 levels into Rogue, we are going to be grabbing expertise in athletics, and I don't think we have acrobatics. So athletics and survival will do just fine. I don't know why I didn't switch that out. We get sneak attack feature, thieves cant, cunning action, and we get a roguish archetype, Arcane Trickster. This gives us spell casting, which we use our intelligence modifier for. So it's If we're trying to deal damage, it's not going to be that good, but we're not trying to deal damage. We're just trying to add a little more flavor. And these spells that we choose, well, starting off, will have to be, 2 of them will have to be either illusion or enchantment, but we do get access to a spell that isn't illusion or enchantment. And I want to make this very important before we get into the recommended spells. When we reach certain levels, we are able to change out our spells for any spell that we want that isn't illusion or enchantment. It's only one spell, but we can still do that. So I want you to keep that in mind before we get into the recommended spells. Now, another thing is we get Mage Hand automatically as we become an Arcane Trickster. We already have Mage Hand, so does that mean that we can choose a spell that's not Mage Hand? I don't know. I think that'll be something to discuss with your Dungeon Master, if you decide to go with the Arcane Trickster Rogue. You also get the Mage Hand Legerdemain, which increases your distance on your Mage Hand and lets you do a few other things with it. You also get the Steady Aim feature. At level 4 Rogue, we get an ability score improvement. Go ahead and increase your strength to a 14. Level 5 Rogues get Uncanny Dodge. Level 6 Rogues get an ability score improvement. Go ahead and increase your dexterity by 2, making it an 18. Level 7 Rogues get Evasion. And level 8 Rogues get a feat. We're going to go with the Tavern Brawler feat. This will give us a +1 to our Constitution, as well as giving our unarmed strikes a 1d4 in damage, which is pretty cool. I like it. We also get proficiency in improvised weapons, also pretty cool. I mainly did it for the Constitution increase and the increase to our unarmed strike. Now, I could have gone for Monk as well to give us some extra punch and being able to do extra punches. It would have been the same as Rogue, but I felt that we needed some certain spells from the Arcane Trickster Rogue. Also, level 7 Rogue did Evasion as well as Monks at level 7, which makes this build more powerful, because both Uncanny Dodge and Evasion give you the ability to not only decrease the amount of damage you take from an attack, but with Evasion, if you have to make a dexterity saving throw, you take half damage on a failure, no damage on a successful save. And our dexterity is currently an 18. That's a +4 modifier. Now, if we were to not take any feats at all, and just take all the ability score improvements, we could have a +5 modifier to our dexterity, to our constitution, and to our wisdom, giving us, thanks to the nebulae, a 25 armor class. That is overpowered. Not to mention the added bonus of evasion would make us nearly untouchable. I would not be surprised if some dungeon masters were to look at this race and go, yeah, heck no. You cannot play this race. I can understand that, because this build proves that that can be very overpowered. And that's why I decided to make this build. Now, this may be the end of the build, but not the end of the video, as we do have spells to go over now. For our recommended spells, we have the cantrips automatically being Mage Hand, with 2 others, Lightning Lure and Thunderclap. First level spells. I chose Fog Cloud as our non-enchantment and illusion spell. And that's good. I like Fog Cloud. Fog Cloud actually makes things a little bit harder for your opponents to hit people, including you, because of the lightly obscured or heavily obscured effect. I can't remember which one Fog Cloud gave, but either way, that does make things harder for your enemy to hit you. We also get Color Spray. I decided to do that because, well, rainbows. Silvery Barbs, again, trying to make things harder for your opponent. And Sleep. Some people do fall asleep to the rain, so that makes sense in my opinion. Second level spells, we have Snowball Swarm. Again, we are a Nimbus Cloud, so snow and rain are the 2 precipitations that are given off by the Nimbus Cloud. And we also have Invisibility. I just chose it to choose it, but it also makes this build extremely powerful, once again, because we're invisible. Can't touch this. So that is the end of this video. What did you think of the Nebulae? Would you allow a player to use it in your campaign? And give the reason why down below. I'm very interested if it's for the same reason as I think it is. Or would you make sure that all of your players played a Nebulae just to make things fair? Because I would love an all-Nebulae party. And like I said, I was going to create another Cloudian, but I didn't have the time. So anyway, that is all for today. I do hope that you enjoyed. Until next time, this has been Drehan, and I am offline.